We're all missing the car shows and cruise nights, and I thought with Autorama not too far away, it might be a good idea to look at a few past Autoramas to get you in the mood for the Autorama that's coming up. I hope you enjoy.
Let's start with the Riddler Award winner. This car started life as a 57 Chevy, but there's not much 57 Chevy original car here. Everything about this car has been handcrafted right down to the chrome trim. The interior is also handcrafted with soft leather throughout. It features a 515 cubic inch engine turning out 1,034 horsepower on pump gas. This is a 56 Continental, not a Lincoln, but a Continental. I spoke with Dan about the interesting dash.
It's all handmade sheet metal. The gauge cluster itself is out of a 1961 Chrysler. It has they call it the Globe gauge cluster. We custom machined some trim for around it, and then the steering wheel itself is out of a 1960 Plymouth.
It has a 5.0 Coyote motor from a late model Mustang disguised to look as a Continental engine. They call it the Scarlet Lady. Who doesn't like this 1935 window street rod? It's running a 451 BBC. BBC refers to Big Block Chevy. Here's a 41 Willys. It's an all-steel body car, and it's fitted out with a 350 turbo transmission and LS1 engine. You know, everywhere you look, there are beautiful cars like this. They called this VW the Berlin Buick. I spoke with Rob, a friend of the owner, about this unusual Beetle.
It's a 56 Volkswagen. It's got a 215 Buick V8. It's an all-aluminum motor. They chose that motor because it's short in length. It fits behind the rear seat. Hooked up to a 4-speed transaxle. The dashboard is a 49 Buick. The side trim is 57 Buick that's been recessed into the body. The portholes in the side, the exhaust comes out. Those are 53 Buick portholes.
What a car. If Harley Earl was around today, I know he'd be blown away by this 47 Cadillac. The Carson top has been chopped 5 inches, and there are too many modifications to mention here. Here's a beautiful 1947 old super convertible. It's got a 580 horsepower engine with tons of torque. Ron spent a solid 14 months working on this car.
The engine is an LSA, which is supercharged. It's the latest. It's a crate engine. The tranny is also automatic. The complete interior was redone in leather.
There's a quarter-mile Cruiser 65 Mustang with a supercharged 427 LSX engine. And here's another fast mover. It's a honkin' Camaro SS with the wildest-looking engine and supercharger I've ever seen. This gorgeous 57 Cadillac is not as sedate as it seems. It's got an LS2 engine and a 6-speed transmission, heated seats, cruise control, and a lot more features never dreamed of in 57. What a beautiful car.
Here is the 2017 prize winner who takes home not only a trophy, but a check for $10,000. Here's a look at this year's winning car. A 1933 Altered Street Roadster. This is a completely redesigned and customized 1939 Cadillac by Foose. It looks like the kind of automobile driven by movie stars. Here is one very cool classic, a 1954 Corvette with upgrades and modifications. It may not be readily noticeable, but this car features a roof and windshield from a 56 Corvette. The interior is soft leather, and it's powered by a supercharged LS1 engine. There's plenty of detail work in this little beauty. This 1960 T-Bird caught my eye. It's not just a pretty face, but Dennis's dream to own this model car since he was a teenager. It's funny how memories play a big part in the cars we own and treasure.
I rode by and I come by again and I look at it again. Then I got enough nerve to go up and ask the guy, was it for sale or what he wanted with it? And he said, he asked me was I going to use it for a spare or what, because she was kind of rough. And he asked me did I want it. I said I want it.
The interior is Jaguar saddle tan leather with a 5-speed manual transmission. Under the hood sits a 351 Windsor engine, blueprinted, balanced, and stroked to 408 cubic inches. Here's a 58 Chevy Impala, but it's not your basic 283 model. This car has been upgraded to a 376 LS3, turning out 430 horsepower. There's a 1950 Chevy with mild customizing, and it has a 6-cylinder engine with 2 2s. You've likely seen this car before. It's a shortened-up 1959 Imperial 2-seater. Imperials of this vintage are recognizable by their huge tail fins and gun-sight taillights. Carol brought along her 1976 Pacer. This car is completely stock, right down to its original interior. There's a 1949 Cadillac. It appears to be restored to original condition. This was the first year for tail fins. It was a trend that would carry through right into the 1960s. Don't let the headlights fool you. This is actually a 1940 Ford Coupe. I talked with a guy who likes to be called Boogeyman, and he tells us about the restoration.
It's got a 44 Deluxe grille in it, but it's got 39 Ford headlights. Just because I like the way they flow back and keep the car flowing. The hood's been completely filled in and peaked up the center, so it has a slight peak in the center. The scoop's been put in the sides of the hood, just to enhance the body lines. All 4 fender wells have been changed. The front ones are 2.5 inches larger than stock. The back ones are 4 inches larger than stock.
Boogeyman did all the work at home in his own garage. Under the hood is a 2009 LS1 engine. Here's a look at a few more cars on the main floor. You know, only 435 of these Kaiser Darrens were produced to compete with European sports cars. They featured pocket doors, and all models had a 3-speed manual transmission with overdrive. They were underpowered with only a 6-cylinder 90 horsepower engine.
The Riddler Award is given out to the top car at the show, and this year it went to this magnificent 1939 Olds brought in from Texas. The customizing and detail work on this car is superb. Here's a look at this great car. The Olds is a work of art and well deserving of this award. But there were many cars at this show that made the finalist list that were equally worthy. Like this 61 Chevy wagon. It started life as a bubble top, but then converted to a wagon. It's fitted out with a 409 engine under the hood. Another finalist was this incredible 1941 Ford pickup. Note the retractable hardtop roof and custom interior. The owner calls this pickup Mirage, but I can assure you, it's very real. Here's a 1948 Thames. Under the hood sits a 350 engine. That's a sweet-looking little 33 Ford Coupe. And a 32 Ford Highboy. This is perhaps one of the most heavily customized cars at the show, using parts from many different cars. From the rear, it looks like some influence came from a 59 Chevy. You can tell a lot of work went into this custom creation. Here's a car many of our local car show and cruise night gang will recognize. It's Norm's 1956 Ford. Norm has done a nice job with this car. It has a 390 engine and custom interior. A trademark of Norm's Ford is the bulging quarter panels over the rear wheel wells. A 1932 Ford 3-window coupe with a 57 Chrysler 392 engine. And here's a rare one. It's a 1941 Willys pickup. It's powered by a 502 Ramjet engine. Wouldn't you love to have this 53 Caddy in your driveway? This car looks to me to be the height of good taste. Imagine the hours that went into turning out this beauty. Under the hood sits a 427 LS7 engine. The interior has comfortable 6-way seats. Here's a 1940 Merc in bright blue. It features a custom interior. Nice customizing on the headlights, louvered hood, and dummy spots. 56 Packard Clipper taillights highlight this 53 Buick Super Riviera Custom. The rear bumper is from a Packard Caribbean. Door handles have been shaved. Here's a 53 Chevy 210 convertible. Light customizing to the taillights and grille. And dummy spots. Back in '63, Chrysler was testing out turbine cars. Here's what they sounded like. The body of this car was made by Ghia in Italy. Several turbine cars were made and sent to private drivers for testing. However, only 9 remain. Not to be left behind, GM was also turning out concept cars. An example is this 1953 Cadillac Le Mans. It's a 2-seater, and note the dual headlights. These quad headlights would not make an appearance until 4 years later in a top-end Cadillac model. For most cars, the quad headlights came along in '58. Here's another GM concept car. It's a 1959 Cadillac Cyclone with 325 horsepower. You may think that advanced warning crash detection might be only in late model cars, but this car had it 57 years ago. Sensors are mounted in the black nose cones. The Cyclone also came with a plexiglass bubble top that folded back into the trunk and went up automatically when rain was detected. How about that for 1959 technology? Here is a 1932 Ford sedan delivery. A small package, but it still required a lot of work to make this car what it is. That's a random sampling of Autorama cars on the main floor of Kobo. And a great show it was. But there's more to see. Let's go down to the basement, away from all the glitz and glamour, and see what we can find. No bright city lights down here. This is where Autorama began back in the 60s. Here you'll find a little bit of everything, like this 1950 Ford customized by Gene Winfield back in 2008. It's hard to recognize, but this is a 1931 Model A, a 1934, and a 1956 Ford.
Welcome to Detroit Autorama 2015. Every car at the show is looking to win the prestigious Riddler Award. And for the second year in a row, the trophy was handed out to a British Columbia car. Last year's winner was this magnificent custom 64 Buick Riviera. This year, the coveted prize went to this 65 Chevy from Abbotsford, BC. It's a beautiful custom, and it took 5 years to create. The next couple of cars are real works of craftsmanship. This is a hand-built reconstruction of a 1937 Delahaye. Plenty of style in this recreation. And this is a stylized reinterpretation of Ralph Lauren's 37 Bugatti. Completely hand-built. An original of this car was sold at auction to an unknown buyer for between $30 and $40 million. Here's a 1955 Cadillac Coupe de Ville. Now, a couple of concept cars. This is a 52 Buick Wildcat prototype. It's called the Wildcat II. Back in the early 50s, GM and all the other car companies were active in turning out ultra-modern, highly advanced concept cars. Here's another GM concept car. This one a 56 Buick Centurion. Like the Wildcat prototype, this has a fiberglass body, and it has an acrylic clear roof. Under the hood sits a 348 cubic inch engine developing 325 horsepower. This is a 1953 Corvette, and the earliest Corvette known to have run in NASCAR sanctioned events. Not wanting to be left behind, Ford also got into the 2-seater car market in 1955 with the new Thunderbird. This 67 Mustang has nice customizing and plenty of goodies inside. Very few of these cars actually retain full originality. This one has been well engineered. There was a little bit of everything at this show, including funny cars and rails. Or at least, we used to call them rails when we were younger. I guess now they're just called dragsters. Here's a 1947 Hudson. So what you say, there's plenty of Hudsons around. But have you ever heard of a 1947 Hudson pickup truck? Perhaps you have, but it's a new one on me. This is a 49 Chevy Deluxe Tin Woody. It's called a Tin Woody because what looks like wood really isn't. This is a beautifully restored car. There's a 59 Edsel Corsair convertible, and next to it a 59 Edsel Villager wagon. A lot of Essex County guys and gals will know about Daryl's 55 Ford Custom line. He finished it off in 2011. This 55 changes color in the sunshine from black to a nice shade of deep purple.
There's some pearl in it that's overlaid in a couple coats of clear over a base black finish.
Like a lot of cars here at this show, this is a 55 in body style only.
The only original pieces left really are the body. It has a 351 stroker Windsor block, 392 cubic inch, 5-speed Tremec transmission, 4-link positive traction rear end, Ford 9-inch, and coil over shocks all the way around.
That's a look at past year's Autoramas I hope you enjoyed. And here's a tip for you if you're planning to visit this year at Autorama. Take the tunnel bus instead of driving. Parking is very expensive and sometimes the parking garages are filled. The tunnel bus will drop you off right at the door of Kobo and pick you up again to take you home. That's it for now. We'll see you in the spring at the car shows and cruise nights.